What's up guys, Freeman from Team Rec here, coming at you with a deck profile that I got second place with at the Duelist Nexus pre-release event. As you can see here, we do have some of my prizing. We do have the Duelist Nexus mat. We obviously have the quarter century rare that we somehow managed to pull, so not a bad pull at all. We also got the ultra rare Crimson Dragon, as well as a few other secret rares we pulled, as well as the Field Center. So not too bad of a Sunday overall, I must say. And I actually did play Altergeist. This is one of the archetypes that got some new support in the Duelist Nexus set. Some of the support is pretty decent for the deck, so I decided to try it out. I've always been a fan of Altergeist. I have multiple regional tops with this deck. I've won like a box tournament with this deck and stuff, so it's been a fun deck over the years, and I'm kind of happy to see it get some new support, so I figured I would go ahead and show it off for you guys today. Go ahead and get rid of this prizing off to the side, and we'll just hop right into it. So to start off, we have the pretty standard lineup of Altergeist monsters. We do have 3 Multi-Faker. We'll never play less than this as long as it stays at 3, which I'm sure it will from now on. I remember back in the day when this was at 1 and the deck was still pretty decent. So yeah, 3 Multi-Faker, pretty obvious. We're running 3 Meluseek, of course. This is one of your main starters of the deck. It allows you to search for your Multi-Faker, which you need to really play the game. It also helps break boards, surprisingly. It's a very annoying card. We also have 3 Marionetter. Another one of your starter cards, especially now with the inclusion of Haunted Rock. There are some more combos along with the new cards as well. So you always want to see Marionetter in your opening hand. And those are kind of your standard 9 that every Altergeist list in history has kind of played. Moving on from that, we actually have, it is a newer card, but not from Duelist Nexus. It is Pukari, and I am playing 3 of it. This is a card that came out probably over a year ago that didn't see much play just because Altergeist wasn't seeing much play. And when Altergeist was seeing play, it was just with Mystic Mine and stuff, so this card was never really included. But this card basically allows you to use it as a link material from your hand, so you can normal summon and then make a link to with this card, and then once per duel you can add it back to your hand when it's used for a link summon. So it's a pretty good card overall. I do play it at 3 because you really want to see it in your opening hand. It's a pretty important combo piece, and honestly it's just a really good card, and you want to see it. I was testing 1, I was testing 2, and I've kind of settled on 3 because you really want to see that card in your opening hand. Here's one of the newer cards, Altergeist Malwisp. So for anyone that doesn't know what this does, when it's normal or special summoned, you can target an Altergeist monster in your graveyard, special summon in defense mode, and its effects cannot be activated for the rest of that turn. And then if this card is added to your hand, except by drawing it, you can special summon this card. So this is one of the new inclusions of the deck. It just came out in Duelist Nexus. And when I first got my hands on these, I was testing 3 of them. And to be honest, after a couple of matches of testing, I wish I could only play 1 of them because it's honestly one of your worst cards to draw. But I felt the need to play 2 because if you do draw your 1-of copy, you wouldn't be able to combo because you want to be able to search it during your combo. So if you already have it in your hand, it makes your combo quite awkward. So I am going to play 2 for the foreseeable future. And yeah, this is one of your combo pieces, but you really don't want to see it. Moving on, we do have the 2 Silkatis. To be honest with you, I'm probably going to cut this to 1. That's going to be one of my changes, just because typically in the past you wanted to play 2 of this for a similar reason that you play 2 Malwits, just because in case you draw 1, you still have 1 to summon from your deck. But to be honest with you, you don't really need this interruption anymore in Altergeist, at least in my testing. Obviously, it's still good to get the bounce effect, but you'd have so many more interruptions if you're actually able to combo that summoning a Silkatis doesn't really matter that much. Obviously, if it stays in your deck, you still have the option to summon it, but if you do happen to draw it as a 1-of, a little bit unfortunate, but you really don't need it in your end board or even on your opponent's turn, so I think I'm going to cut that down to 1. And then I did play the Altergeist Conqueror for this event. This is probably another change I would make, just because this card's very much a brick. Obviously, when it's good, it's good. You can stop a lot of battle phases, you can, like spoofing, shuffle it back and get it again, stop multiple attacks in 1 turn, but you really never want to see this card. And to be honest with you, the attack stopping never really came up for me. For whatever reason, I just wasn't really drawing spoofing very often. But yeah, I think I'm going to cut this card and 1 Silkatis just to maybe fit some more hand traps or even some more trap cards. Rounding out the monster lineup, we simply have 3 Ash Blossom. I do want some defensive cards because this deck struggles immensely going second. It's very hard to go second in the stack. It's very hard to crack a board. So anything that can stop them from doing that is good. We are on 3 Ash Blossom for that reason. Spell lineup is very small, as it usually is in Altergeist. We're playing 3 Prosperity. It's either between this or Extravagance, but your extra deck's actually rather important now, so banishing random cards from your extra deck is a little bit risky, and you also need multiple different monsters, so I feel like Prosperity is the one to play for sure, It just lets you dig for any combo pieces. Very good card, obviously. It's probably going to get limited one of these days. Our last spell is actually 1 for 1. With the higher monster count in the deck now, with the new inclusions and stuff, and with Meluseek and Pukari being two very good cards, I figured 1 for 1 was worth the slot, and it's been working out very well so far for me, so I'm going to continue to play 1 for 1. Altergeist has a lot of 2-card combos now, so being able to get the second body on board definitely helps. Moving on to the trap cards, we have the Altergeist part of the trap lineup. 3 spoofing, of course. This card's always going to be really good. Ash on this card is always going to just make you cry. But you do have to play 3 of it. You want to see it. That's how you get a lot of combos going. For the actual Altergeist traps themselves, I'm playing 2 Protocol, 1 Manifestation, and then 1 Haunted Rock, which is a new addition. So Protocol, upon further testing and just playing in general, I'll probably cut this down to 1 just because it's so searchable now. You used to only be able to get it off Marionetter, but you have multiple ways to get to it now. So I'll probably cut this down to 1. Manifestation, you kind of just play as a one-of. It's always been that way. Haunted Rock is a new addition. This is the most worst card in your deck, the biggest brick, because if you draw this card, you cannot flip it that turn. You can only flip it the turn that it's set by the effect of an Altergeist card. So you set this off Marionetter, you can actually flip it that turn, but if you just naturally draw it and set it, you cannot actually flip it. So drawing this card is absolutely terrible, but I feel like it's worth the 1 brick slot because what this lets you do on your turn 1 is actually quite insane. So I figured it was worth the 1 slot. Moving on to the non-Altergeist traps, we do have 3 Impermanence. Everyone knows that Impermanence Faker is pretty insane. Never managed to resolve that, but 3 Impermanence is good regardless. I'm going to continue to play this because, like I said, you do want more options for going second. My kind of 38th, 39th, and 40th card were 3 Solemn Strikes. I didn't really know what to play. Solemn Strike was pretty decent for me, but I might cut this going forward for like more hand traps. I have a feeling Droll in the main is going to be really good this format, especially in my local format. There was a lot of decks I wish I had Droll in my main deck against rather than my side. So Strike is on the cutting board for sure. Last 3 slots to go with the We Need Some Board Breakers theme was 3 evenly matched. I actually managed to resolve evenly into Multi-Faker a few times, and that feels really nice. So Evenly is probably going to stay in my main deck. Obviously, it sucks to go first and draw this card, but it's kind of the risk you have to take because when you lose die roll, being able to hard open this or even Prosperity into this is very good. So I'll probably continue to do that going forward. On to the extra deck now. For Altergeist monsters themselves, we did play 3 Hextia. This is very standard. I would never go below 3. We're actually playing a card that came out a long time ago that didn't see play, and that's 2 Prime Banshee. This is actually a combo piece now, and you can actually get to it fairly reliably with the inclusion of Malwisp. So this is actually a pretty good card these days. 2 has never come up for me. I'm often just banishing the second one off of my Prosperity, but it's just kind of there just in case. You don't really need the space for anything else. Excuse me. Here's the new card, Altergeist Adminia. This is the Link 4. So for anyone that doesn't know what this does, Link 4, you need Altergeist monsters to make it. When it's summoned, you can set an Altergeist trap from your deck, and then during the main phase, quick effect, so either player's turn, you can send a card you control to the graveyard to take control of an opponent's monster, and that monster becomes an Altergeist monster. So it kind of works in theme with your cards, so you can summon it to a Hextia zone to use as a negate, you can summon it to your field and then tribute it off with Protocol. So very cool card, and being able to set the Altergeist trap directly from your deck is quite good as well. I guess I should go over what Prime Banshee does, just because a lot of people might not actually know. So it's a Link 3 with Altergeist monsters. You can tribute a monster you control to summon an Altergeist from your deck to a zone this card points to, and then when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add an Altergeist card from your graveyard to your hand. So it allows some recursion. It also allows to get Multi-Figure out on your turn 1, which is quite good. Rounding out the Altergeist cards, we are playing a Memory Gant. This card is not that good, but I thought it was worth the slot. This actually does help you OTK. This card came out in the same set as Pukari. To be honest, I don't really know the full text of it, but in the battle phase, you can tribute a card and gain that monster's attack points. So you can like attack with a big Hextia, tribute off the Hextia, and then this will gain the big Hextia's attack. This allows for some weird OTKs. It is a Link 4, so it doesn't come up very often, but it's just kind of there. Rounding out the Altergeist cards, I'm actually playing the Altergeist Synchro Dragvirion. I've never summoned this card, but before recording this video, I was actually watching a few Altergeist combo videos that included this card. This card basically says when it's a level 6 Synchro, and Malwisp is actually a level 3 tuner. So Malwisp and Multifaker could make this card. It says when it's tributed, you can special summon it back once per turn. So that kind of works with Prime Banshee. You could basically get a free tribute fodder in the form of the Synchro, and it'll just revive itself back. And Hextia also tributes when it tributes the thing it's pointed to get a negate. So technically, if you're on board with something like this, this is actually 2 negates because you can tribute this off once, coming right back to the same zone, and then get the second negate. Not something I've experimented with just yet, but something that I'm going to look into a little further. I don't know if that card's actually very good, but I'll try to make some combos work with it and see how it goes. Onto the Link 1s, just in case your hand is quite bricky and you just have to like Meluseek, Search, Pass. We do have the Link Karibo. This is kind of the standard Link 1 that you want to go for most of the time. We do have Relinquish Anima. This card won me a game against Runic Live Twin Sprite, just stealing their things in the extra monster zone. Very good card, can catch people off guard for sure. It's also a spellcaster for Secret Village, which we do play in our sideboard. And that is actually the reason that we play the Artemis. In case we plan on ending on Secret Village and for whatever reason cannot get to a Geist monster, we can end on this instead to keep our Secret Village live. Basically, these two serve the purpose of getting your Meluseek Search off on your turn 1, and this one is more of a utility Link 1 that does come up quite often, especially because a lot of people tend to not play around it, or aren't able to play around it just with how their deck has to play. Last 3 slots, Nightmare Phoenix, never summoned it. Multifaker locks you into Altergeist monsters for the whole turn, so these kind of filler spots rarely come up. Played Underworld Goddess. Again, this didn't come up, but Pearly's kind of like the deck to beat at my locals, at least for right now. This is kind of your out to a big noir. It's easier said than done, obviously, but it's just kind of there for now. We'll probably get cut in the future. And then last card is Herald of Arclight, just because, again, Malwisp is a tuner, so Malwisp plus level 1 could make this. And this, it is a negate in its own right, but it also has the kind of macro lingering effect, which could be very useful against some decks. So it's definitely worth the slot. Going forward, I do want to find myself an Arcanite Magician. It is a level 7 that you need spellcasters to make, which they're all spellcasters, so I'll probably find a way to include that in the future. Just because I think that'd be like a cool card. And again, like these 2 slots specifically don't ever come up, so they're very flexible in terms of what kind of utility extra deck cards you want to play. Onto the side deck now. A card that I kind of wish I have in my main deck and probably will going forward will be Droll Lockbird. I sided this in all of my matchups, and when I saw it, I actually managed to win the game. My loss was actually in the final round to a Punk Gold Pride. We went to game 3. He went first, did his full combo. And I just couldn't break the board, unfortunately. I just had all engine, no side deck. But if I would have seen this card, it definitely would have helped for sure. So yeah, that's kind of where Altergeist struggles, is you need to see your side deck post-side, especially going second, or you're just going to lose because you have no chance. Going on from there, we do have triple copies of Regeki. I figured kind of the same thing. People aren't really ending on too many negates at the moment, at least at my locals. So I kind of just wanted a kind of theme to break the board. Came up a few times. It was pretty decent overall. A card that I had in my main deck up until moments before the tournament is actually Triple D Barrier. Again, like I said, Pearly's kind of the deck to beat at the moment, at least for my deck and my locals. So I kind of want just cards that don't let them play the game. Decided to take it out of the main deck last minute for Strikes, just because I thought Strike would be a little better going second, because this obviously is not very good if they already have an established board where Strike can kind of interrupt them in some way. So definitely just going to side this in going first against a lot of matchups, has a lot of coverage. And then one of the reasons I really enjoy playing this deck is double Secret Village, double Metaverse. For anyone that doesn't know, Secret Village is basically a floodgate where if you control a spellcaster monster, your opponent cannot activate spells. Pretty much as simple as that. Turns off a lot of decks. Even decks that aren't exactly super spell heavy. A lot of decks do play a lot of key spells, so this just turns them off. So I'm signing this in every time going first. 4-card combo, and then obviously Metaverse allows you to trigger your Faker as well if you manage to draw well enough. Last 2 slots in my sideboard, I didn't really know what to play, to be honest, so I tested out Double D-Shifter. It's kind of weird only playing 2 of this card, considering how crazy it is. But to be honest, I sided it against my Runic matchup. I managed to drop it, but it actually hurt me quite a lot, because you're kind of a combo deck now, and you do rely on cards going to the graveyard to get your searches off. So I don't know how good this really is. I'll probably keep testing it a little bit, just because this card's absolutely crazy in the right matchups. And if you could just kind of control the games with traps and shifter, you can probably win from there. But in the scenario, I actually managed to draw it. My hand was a lot of monsters, and it wasn't that good. He did pass turn, but then I kind of just passed back to him with like 2 back row. So it didn't really come up too often, but I'll probably continue to test it just because the card's crazy. So just real quick, the other cards that came out in the set that I was testing and didn't really play. Third copy of Malice, I believe I already talked about, just because you actually don't ever want to see this card. So I cut it down to 2. And then these were the other 2 cards that came out in Duelist Nexus that I was testing on Saturday when I opened my first initial round of packs. Just because I really wanted to get my testing in with every card. I ended up cutting them for the Sunday tournament just because these cards actually just aren't that good. You don't ever want to draw either of these cards. And to be honest, you don't really need them to combo. So what the trap does is, when it's activated, you can special summon an Altergeist Link monster to the field. And then when this card's in your graveyard, you can banish it to normal summon an Altergeist monster. You can not use both of those in the same turn for what that's worth. What this card does is, it can attack directly. When it inflicts damage, you can draw a card. And then when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send an Altergeist card from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Hand or deck or field to the graveyard. So that's you can kind of see where the combo comes in here. Link this off, send this trap from your deck to the graveyard, banish this to get a second normal summon that turn. That's very good in theory, but to be honest, it's not really part of a main combo. It doesn't make your inboard really that much better at all. With the inclusion of 3 Pukri, you end up getting like the extra body and stuff anyway, to where you don't actually need the second normal summon that turn. And drawing these cards was just absolutely terrible, so I ended up cutting them. This card really does nothing in your opening hand because it has to summon a Link monster back, and if you've already bricked, you don't have a Link monster in graveyard, so this card does nothing. And then to be honest with you, this card just wasn't good enough to make the cut. You'd rather just see like non-engine cards than any of these. So that's kind of where I'm standing with that. And yeah, that's going to be it for the deck profile, guys. We managed to get second place with all that prizing. Going to continue to test Altergeist throughout this format. This is one of my favorite decks, probably of all time. So I'm going to try and refine it a lot more. I'll probably go ahead and cut some of the bricks for some more hand traps and non-engine, just because I really was struggling going second. And yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.